Welcome YouTube to another Eagle Auto Shop repair video. We have a Chrysler Town & Country in here, and this one has trans lines leaking. I had the customer come over, we kind of looked at it and determined that the lines were leaking, so we've ordered some lines for him and we're going to get the lines installed. And I just want to go through this with you and show you a little bit about how this looks. So looks like we're going to probably have to take this front part of the grill off to access the lines where they go into the radiator cooler up front. And one line looks like it's kind of out in the open, but the other one goes into the top of the transmission right there, and it might be a little tough to access it with that exhaust manifold crossover that goes across from head to head there. So we're going to get you in here and see if we can get a little up close view of what's going on. Hopefully it won't be too bad, but we'll do our best to bring you every good tip and trick that we know. So if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment. I'd love to talk with you. I'd love to be able to share with you the over 40 years experience that I have working in the field, and I just want to try to help you make your repair concern a little bit easier. So if you have questions, please leave me a question in the comment section. Like I said, we just love to help, give you some insight into some of the things that we've learned over many years working in the auto industry. Starting out at independents, I've worked at dealerships. I'm currently a technical consultant for one of the big three automakers. Is it still the big three? Gosh, I don't know. There's so many of them now. So in any event, I would like to share with you and help you out with some of the things that we face in the daily grind of fixing cars. So things have changed over the years. They're pretty complex now, but we just have a passion for it here at Eagle Auto Repair. So stay with us. We're going to get set up and let you get in here and look at this a little bit closer. And again, I just want to thank you for joining me, and we value the time that you spend with us here at Eagle Auto Repair. All right, so I think for those ones, probably it's going to be best to maybe take this battery out. So we're going to try that real quick just to see if it frees up some space for us. So let's go ahead and get this battery out of here. Hopefully that'll give us some room. Maybe take the battery and the battery tray out. There's a couple zip tie with Christmas tree connectors right down here that we need to loosen. We've got the battery disconnected. And let's see what we got here. There's that one. And that one. And I think there's one more over here in the corner. Alright, so there's our bolts for that. Trays. I see one more Christmas tree connector. I just kind of like to use this style of tool to get those out. So I can get it under there. And it's kind of a zip tie with a Christmas tree situation. There's our battery tray. It just kind of comes right out. That kind of opens it up a little bit. Now we can actually get in there and see those. Move the big harness out of the way, but you can see now the two lines are exposed a little easier to get to. And the way that they do these, Chrysler does these, there's a safety feature that holds little plastic slides over. I'm going to get the new line and show you what it looks like. We're going to be putting in this set of Dorman trans lines. And so open these up, pull them out and show them to you. So this is the new line. You can see the way that Chrysler does it. I think GM uses a similar situation, but the fitting actually is flared at the end. And what it does is it just kind of snaps down into the connector, and there's a little clip that goes around this part here. that holds that line down in there. And then this little plastic piece is kind of a safety that just slides down over it to keep that clip from releasing and then allowing the line to pop out. So that's the style they use. It's a typical pressure line setup. And you can see that these are the ends that are probably going to go down into the trans, and then you got a couple that come over to the cooler, this end here for the cooler. So all right, so that's our replacement lines. And now we have to go about the business of seeing if we can get that little clip out. That's a little bit tricky. So I'm going to try to open up this here a little bit better so that you can see better when we go ahead and get in there, how that looks. But ultimately, the next step would be to remove that little clip and then just pop that line out. So let's try that and see what we can do. Okay, so it looks like the easiest way is to get this core support. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 9 bolts. They look like this. And as we remove all these and the clips from the front grill, that allows our core support to just easily be removed and out of the way a little bit. We have our hood release cable here, so you know, we kind of want to keep that in the cowl support because we don't want to take necessarily this latch off. We don't have to. We just want to be able to access it, so we just move that out of the way. And now that exposes this area where the lines come in right here. And I'll get the camera down in here so you can see this a little bit better. And so that's where the trans lines connect to the cooler, which is front, the trans cooler out front here. And so I'll get you in there and get you a little better look at that. All right, so this, now with that radiator core support out of the way, you can see the cooler lines are exposed right here. And so again, we want to push this plastic retaining piece back, and then there's the little clip right there. And it's really challenging to get those out. So I'm going to show you a little bit of a trick I learned some time ago. And you kind of have to find the opening of it, and then I want to get my magnet down there close to catch it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to start to manipulate that off, and as I push on it, once I get it up just a little bit, I can effectively then kind of push on it, and the idea is the magnet will hold it when it releases. Now this one's upside down a little bit, so I've got it pushed off. It's in a bad position, and in this case I'm going to go for the tiny needle nose and see if I can just grab a hold of it, because if it falls down and you lose them, then you got trouble. So we just want to work it off of there, and there it is. That's what it looks like. It's just a kind of a silly situation, and I dropped it. Sure was shooting. And again, once that clip is out, you can pull that line out. Just want to show you what that clip looks like. It's just a tiny little, this configuration, and it just kind of snaps over the line. And again, it's important to have that magnet handy so that when you do get it off where needle nose, you get a hold of it and you don't drop it. But again, once you get that off, then you can just pull the line. Line comes out of the fitting, and there's our old line. That's what it looks like. So this edge right here, once you get it down into the fitting, that little clip kind of just locks over it and retains it on that flared end, and then this piece here slides up over it and protects that little clip from coming out. So that's how Chrysler does those lines on this In quite a number of their vehicles, they've had this style for a while. So, all right, try to get on to the next one, and then we'll work on the ones down there on the trans. So again, these these are a little tricky, these ones down here. As I say, if you can just, what I did here was, if you spray some brake clean and kind of blow that off, you can look down into the line to get the configuration of where it kind of starts. And that is helpful. I just, my son picked up this really cool LED light for me, and I will show you that after we get it out. But having enough light, because as you start to come into the engine compartment, it's kind of hard to see. But if you can figure out which orientation, because those clips go on different ways around that fitting, and just get one side started, then you put your big magnet down and get a little screwdriver, and as you push around with that clip with the magnet there, it just kind of grabs onto the clip, and then you don't lose it as easily. So because trust me, when these little clips try and show you that little clip right there, when it hits the car and it comes out of there, you know, it usually comes out with a little bit of force, and it can bounce, and you know, you lose them. So it can be pretty challenging. So you just kind of have to be patient, take your time, get that one edge moving, and then once you've got it out, you should be pretty much home free. Like I said, then it's just a matter of twisting the line a little bit, lifting up on it. There's our two lines, so we've got them disconnected from both ends. Now we're going to pull those out, route our new ones in, and you can, there's two ways you can do it. You can put the clip on and push the line down, which will push it past. I like to put the line in myself and then put the clip on. That's just how I've always done them. They do make a special tool for this, although when I worked in the Chrysler dealership and used that tool quite often, and my old buddy, the trans guy, would he didn't even use it, so we would just go at it like I just showed you, with a little pick tool and a magnet, your little screwdriver, pocket screwdriver, get it started and kind of push around, get your magnet down there, and as you push it off, it'll jump onto the magnet and you should be home free. So all right, so we have our lines put in, and we have those clips on, and you can see that this area here, the lines are down in the trans, and then they come around, and we've got them up here installed in the car into the cooler side. So now we just have to put this grill back together, radiator core support, and then we're gonna check for leaks, get it running, and I'll show you how to check the fluid. They're a little bit different on this. This does not have a trans dipstick, so you need a scan tool, and you have to bring it up to temperature, and then there's a special dipstick that we use to check the trans fluid level. All right, so we're going to move this radiator core back support into position, and again, we left our cable attached. We want that to lock down. There's a little plastic guide right there. It snaps down, you can hear it snap. And so now it's set in the right spot, our cable's in the right position, and we can go ahead and run these all these screws back in. Remember, always best when you have a bunch of fasteners, make sure you get them started first before you tighten any down, because it'll save you the hassle of having to have one that's not in the right position, then you end up cross-threading it and giving you all kinds of trouble. I'm not sure why they use these metal ones on this part of the plastic bumper. It's a little bit overkill in my opinion, but I'm sure the engineer had a reason. And I guess that's an understatement. So then they use these little plastic push pin ones up here on this part, which really is plenty of support for this. I'm sure costs less money. But there you go, that's all back together. We're going to get our battery in, our battery tray, I should say. Put our battery in, and we'll get it started up and check for leaks. Alright, so we've got the vehicle running and checking the fluid level in the transmission. You notice they have this plug, no dipstick, just a plug in the trans, and there's a special tool. It's basically a dipstick, universal dipstick cable, and it's marked in 10 millimeter increments. And so what you do is you bring the vehicle up to operating temperature, and you have to be reading your scan tool to see the data on here to see what the oil temperature is, and then we refer to service information, and there's a chart that gives you the level based on the millimeter on the dipstick, and it corresponds with the temperature. So but we're basically looking for around 200 degrees oil temperature, and we want to be right about 40 millimeters on the stick. And so we've added a little bit. This wasn't very low. It was a kind of a small leak, enough to alert the customer that he had some spots under his vehicle, and so he knew he had an issue. I'm not quite sure what it was. It kind of, the oil, you know, typically the trans fluid is red, but in this case it kind of looked black to him. Not really that unusual. So and just, you know, the front area, so those lines as they get worn and they start to leak in the rubber part of the line, because it's a steel line and it's got a compression fitting on it. And here's the old lines. You can see the old lines right here, but where they make this compression fitting back in here, after time, just the heat, and you know, the motor's flexing because this is a front wheel drive vehicle, so as you accelerate and decelerate, the motor moves. These just they leak. You know, you don't generally see leaks out here where they go into the fittings. Usually it's going to be in this area here, and again, with a trans leak, you could use the dye, but it's just kind of an inherent problem. You know, spots say the size of a quarter, 50-cent piece. So yeah, so we put the vehicle in the air after we looked at it, and whenever I look for a leak, when I see the leak at the bottom, I try to find the highest point. And in this case, you could see from underneath, those lines have a little area where it would be kind of going to be a drip. So and again, this is a common issue here. So we've got the lines on, we've got the temperature checked, and we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. So we've got this one pretty much set to go. As I said, it's there's a chart in service information that gives you the fluid level, and so once you get the data on your scan tool, so you know what the trans temperature is, you're basically using that universal cable with the 10 millimeter increments on it to check the level, and you kind of follow the graph for temperature and put it in the right area, so get the fluid level to there. So again, this not a terrible job. Like I said, once you move this, in this particular 2009 model year, once you move that radiator core support, the upper core support, out of the way, that gives you a little bit of room to access those. I took the battery and battery tray out just because it's a little easier to get at the lines on top of the transmission coming into them this way, because you have to be under that crossover. But the important things are going to be, make sure those clips, you get your magnet down there when you're taking that clip off, because as it springs off, if you lose it, it's going to be a problem. And then when you do get the line back in there and you snap the clip on, that plastic piece needs to snap down over that to make sure that it's secure. And so other than that, it's a matter of getting the level checked and making sure you're cleaned up, you don't have any drips going on. So again, we'd like to thank you for joining us today on this video here at Eagle Auto Repair. Again, my name is Vince. I would like to hear from you. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Give me a comment, question, feedback. We'd love to hear your input. Give me a like, smash the like button, ring the bell for notifications. That way every time we produce a new video, you'll be able to see that, you'll get notified, and I appreciate you, I do. So As we always say here at Eagle Auto Repair, have a blessed day.